It all started with Reginald. Reginald was a 2-foot-tall, cheery-faced garden gnome my daughter won at a county fair. He held a little fishing pole, had a slightly chipped red hat, and brought my 8-year-old an immense amount of joy. We placed him by the small pond in our backyard. A harmless bit of whimsy. I should have known better. We live in the preserve at Oak Meadow, a subdivision so pristine you could perform surgery on the sidewalks. The Homeowners Association here isn't just strict. It's a quasi-religious organization where the shade of your mulch is a matter of theological debate. The first official communique arrived on crisp, HOA-branded stationery. It looked like a wedding invitation from a fascist regime. From the desk of the Oak Meadow HOA Compliance Committee. Subject: Unauthorized subterrestrial figurine. Violation Code 17B. Dear resident, it has come to our attention that your property is in violation of Community Aesthetic Standard 17B, which clearly states, no lawn ornaments, statuary, or other non-floral decorative elements shall be placed on any lot without prior Architectural Review Committee, ARC, approval. You have 72 hours to remove the unauthorized gnome. Failure to comply will result in a fine of $50 per day until the violation is rectified. Sincerely, Brenda Mackey, HOA President. I laughed. I actually laughed. I called it the gnome note and stuck it on the fridge. My wife, Sarah, was less amused. Just move it, honey. It's not worth the hassle. But it was the principle. A gnome? Really? I wrote a polite email back, explaining it was a child's toy, not a subterrestrial figurine, and asked for an exemption. The response was a terse, one-line email. The rules are the rules. Comply. So I moved Reginald to the back porch. Problem solved, right? Wrong. 2 days later, another letter. Subject: Second notice. Unauthorized porch figurine and UN-approved patio furnishing. The gnome has been relocated to an unapproved location, the rear porch, which is in clear violation of Standard 12C regarding clutter on visible auxiliary structures. Furthermore, the wicker chair adjacent to the gnome is not from the HOA-approved Heritage Collection and must be replaced. Fines are now accruing at a rate of $75 per day. $50 for the gnome, $25 for the chair. My blood pressure spiked. The wicker chair was a family heirloom from Sarah's grandmother. This was no longer about a gnome. This was a power trip. Brenda Karen Mackey, a woman whose face was permanently fixed in her expression of smelling something foul, had declared war on my family's happiness. I decided to play their game. I requested the official ARC approval forms for patio furniture. The packet was 14 pages long and required 3 color photographs, fabric swatches, and a notarized letter of intent. For a chair. That's when I started documenting everything. I took time-stamped photos of our yard, our porch, everything. I filed every letter in a binder I ominously labeled the HOA dossier. Sarah thought I was being paranoid. I knew I was being prepared. The fines kept coming. $100 for our mailbox being non-regulation matte black, instead of approved gloss black. $150 for a clandestine and unapproved herb garden, Sarah's basil and rosemary plants. We were getting bled dry over petty nonsense. Meanwhile, Brenda's allies, a squadron of nosy neighbors I called the Pastel Posse, they always wore shades of beige and mint green, would casually walk by our house, shaking their heads and taking notes on their phones. I stopped being polite. I started attending the monthly HOA meetings. They were held in the community clubhouse and felt like a dystopian town hall. Brenda presided from a raised dais, wielding her gavel like a scepter. Point of order, I said at one meeting, my voice calm but firm. Bylaw 4.2 states that fines cannot exceed $100 per incident without a homeowner hearing. We've been fined $500 for the gnome incident alone. Brenda peered over her rhinestone-studded glasses. The gnome incident, as you so flippantly call it, constitutes multiple ongoing violations, Mr. Evans. The hearing was last month. You didn't attend. I had been at my daughter's piano recital. I requested a reschedule in writing. Request denied. The community's standards wait for no one. That night, I went full detective. While my family slept, I dove into the labyrinthine HOA governing documents. I read covenants, restrictions, and bylaws until my eyes crossed. And then I found it, the motherlode. The HOA rules were very clear about commercial activity. Bylaw 22A explicitly stated, "No lot shall be used for any commercial or business purpose of any kind." Furthermore, no structure shall be erected, placed, or altered on any lot until the construction plans and site plan have been approved by the ARC. And then I saw it. On Zillow, a new listing right in our neighborhood. Stunning new construction condos at the preserve at Oak Meadow. A perfect investment opportunity. I clicked on it. The condos were being built on a large, wooded lot at the very back of the subdivision. The lot owned by Brenda and Stan Mackey. My heart hammered in my chest. She was building 28 condos on her property. She had circumvented the ARC, which she controlled, and had started a massive commercial construction project. The Pastel posse either didn't know or were in on it. This was corruption, plain and simple. I drove to the site. It was shrouded by trees from the street, but once I found the construction entrance, I saw it. A massive cleared area, foundations being poured, frames going up. I took videos, screenshots of the listing, and cross-referenced everything with the county property records. It was all hers. She hadn't just broken a rule. She had nuked the entire rulebook from orbit. I didn't say a word. I met with a lawyer, a sharp-eyed real estate attorney named Ms. Adebayo. She reviewed my dossier and let out a low whistle. This is brazen. They didn't even form a separate LLC. They're building this under their own names. We devised a plan. I would let the next HOA meeting play out. I would let Brenda hang herself with her own rope. The fines continued to pile up. We got one final, glorious letter. Subject: Final notice, lien and foreclosure proceedings. Due to your outstanding balance of $4,850 in fines and noncompliance, the HOA board has voted to place a lien on your property and will begin foreclosure proceedings if the amount is not paid in full within 30 days. This is your final opportunity to comply with the community standards. I framed that letter. The next HOA meeting was packed. The air was thick with tension. Brenda, looking smug, brought the meeting to order. "And now we have old business," she said, her eyes locking onto mine. "The Evans property. Mr. Evans, you have an outstanding lien. Do you have a payment for the board today?" I stood up, holding my binder and a manila envelope. I had connected my laptop to the clubhouse projector earlier. "Brenda, I do not," I said, my voice echoing in the silent room. "But I do have some questions about compliance." She sighed theatrically. "We are not here to relitigate your gnome, sir." "Oh, this isn't about the gnome," I said, clicking the projector remote. A massive image of the condo construction site filled the screen. "This is about Bylaw 22A, which prohibits commercial activity, and ARC Guideline 1.1, which requires approval for any new structure." The room erupted in murmurs. Brenda's face went white. "What is this?" "This is irrelevant," she sputtered. "I think it's very relevant," I continued calmly, "because according to county records, this massive construction project for 28 commercial condominium units is happening on Lot 42, the lot owned by you and your husband, Stan. I clicked to the Zillow listing. I clicked to photos I had taken of the construction signs with the Mackey's company name on them. I presented it all with the cold, hard clarity of a prosecutor. "You have fined me over a child's toy, while you have illegally broken ground on a multi-million-dollar commercial project without ARC approval, without notifying your neighbors, and in direct violation of the bylaws you are sworn to uphold." The room was in an uproar. The Pastel posse looked confused and betrayed. Other homeowners, who had also been victims of Brenda's pettiness, started shouting, "Is this true, Brenda? You're foreclosing on him for a gnome while you're doing this? This is an outrage." Brenda was trying to gavel for order, her voice shrill. "This is a private matter. This is a targeted personal attack." "No, Brenda," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. "This is about justice. You have weaponized these rules against us for years. Now, let's see how they work for you. I nodded to my lawyer, Ms. Adebayo, who had been sitting in the back. She stood and handed a thick legal document to each board member. This is a cease and desist order and a formal notice of intent to sue the HOA board and Brenda Mackey individually for gross negligence, breach of fiduciary duty, and fraudulent enrichment. The construction on Lot 42 will halt immediately. The fallout was swift and beautiful. Brenda was immediately suspended as president. An emergency board, comprised of sane, previously silent neighbors, was formed. The lien against my house was voided. All my fines were refunded. The gnome and the wicker chair were granted a full posthumous pardon. But the best part was yet to come. The new board, upon reviewing the mess, discovered that Brenda's project was not just an HOA violation. She had also sidestepped several crucial county permits. The entire project was illegal. The county issued a stop work order and then the piece de resistance, a demolition order for the unpermitted structures. A week after the showdown, I was drinking my coffee on my back porch, in my unapproved but now fully legal wicker chair, when I heard the heavy rumble of machinery. I walked to the end of my street, where a few other neighbors had gathered. There, on Brenda Mackey's land, a massive demolition crew was at work. A huge excavator with a long hydraulic arm and a pounding jackhammer tip was systematically reducing one of the half-built condo frames to a pile of splintered wood and shattered concrete. Thump, thump, crunch. It was the most satisfying sound I have ever heard. Brenda and Stan moved out a month later. Rumor has it they're facing bankruptcy from the project's failure. As for the preserve at Oak Meadow, we have new, reasonable leadership. We revised the bylaws to focus on things that actually matter, like community safety and maintaining common areas, not the color of your mailbox or the presence of a friendly gnome. Reginald is back by the pond, his chipped red hat a badge of honor. Every time I see him, I'm reminded that sometimes you have to fight petty with petty, and sometimes you have to fight it with a demolition crew.